From Sigma Woman, this is the Business for Aligned Women podcast. I'm your host, Clara McKay, your aligned business coach and advocate for all things showing up for your vision. This is a no BS space for brave-hearted women who are actually craving change. I'm dedicated to bringing women's visions into reality, equipping women with all they need to build an abundant future, and shutting down all of the ways that you keep yourself small. Here, we're all about a women-centered approach, non-negotiable value alignment, and making bank without compromising your well-being. Each week, you're already one step closer to your most aligned and abundant future. Welcome to a 108th episode of the Business for Aligned Women podcast. 108 is a very significant, very lucky number in spiritual realms. So I hope that the luck that is permeating through this episode is really going to give you some support and some help with this really common issue that I see most of my clients going through. And it is that overthinking, staying too long in concept rather than action, is actually damaging your physical health. It's leading to burnout. And we need to give you some parameters so that you don't need to keep feeling like this. Before we get into that, if you haven't grabbed my Cycle Syncing for Business guide yet, if you're an overthinker, babe, you need this. If you're an overthinker and you're menstruating, you need this. And you're trying to run a business, you need this. Please grab it. It's free. It's a really simple, very actionable guide. It's not overwhelming. It's not intense. It's dot points for how to start harnessing your energy, your focus, your attention, your smarts in your business without letting your cycle sabotage you. Also, if you've been hearing these episodes and you're thinking, 6-month one-to-one support with a leaning on it being sustainable and it leaning on it being specifically for energy-aware business owners, why don't you book a free call with me and let's chat about it. Let's see if it's a fit for you. Might not be. And let's see if it's going to support you going further in your business. Let's get into this topic of overthinking in business, what it's doing, and why we need to let go of it, and why it might be time to get off this obstacle course. I can speak really, really confidently on this topic because I actually have numerical data. That's very different to a lot of the opinions that business mentors are throwing out there on social media. I'm someone who's into patterns, recognizing system structures and numerical data, which is not an opinion. It's not an idea. It's not something that you fight. I love that. And I use that a lot in my business. And to be clear, I didn't do this process in my business with the intention of getting proof of my point. It just naturally happened. So I wasn't doing this as a manipulative technique. I did something for a different reason, and then I saw the data reflecting this issue. So when you work with me, I get you to fill out a couple of different quizzes. Those quizzes are around me working out how to approach your productivity in a custom way, me working out the level of which I can push you and the level of which kind of the amount of work that I would give you, where you're at. And sometimes I also take that data and advise you maybe to relax more or to prepare for coaching by taking a rest or taking a break. And also your natural tendencies towards entrepreneurship. So I get you to fill out all of these quizzes and send me the results and the information. And that just gently adjusts how I approach coaching with you. So I'm very individualized. I'm very custom. I'm very considered. Yes, I have a formula that I work to, but how we apply that formula, and the reason I use the formula is because it's statistically proven to work, how we apply it is different to each person. And those results is just part of how it becomes tailored. But one of those quizzes is the 7 types of rest quiz. If you haven't seen this or you don't know about it, I strongly suggest you go and take a look. But I think it's 7 areas of your life where you need rest, and it will give you a numerical score as to where you're at in terms of your level of restedness in that area. And I think it's the higher the score, the more it's damaging your life and damaging your physical health. My overthinker clients, they're emotional, and mental rest scores are always the worst. They're always like red flag territory in terms of physical mental burnout. They're always overthinking and being emotional to the point that it's physically and mentally harming and damaging them as individual people. So business aside, as a human in the world, their level of overthinking and making things over emotional and being intertwined in their business is actually physically damaging them. Now, if you want to run a successful business, you coming into it being physically and mentally damaged and burnt out is probably the first thing that we need to sort out. We can give you the best strategy in the world. You can make the best content in the world. If you are going into it, your starting point is depletion. What's the point of doing that? It's not sustainable. So when I talk about being highly emotional and having your business intertwined with your emotionality and using emotionality in content and overthinking and like getting stuck and I've had this epiphany and I've had this epiphany and I've had this breakthrough and never moving into follow through and never actioning any of those epiphanies or those breakthroughs, it's not because I'm a bitch. It's because I know that it's actually hurting you. I know that it's physically, mentally damaging you. I also know and have the statistics, numerical statistics, that the clients who, like, if I had a scale of highly emotional, and I don't mean as people, I mean making their business highly emotional, making it overwrought, having it very intertwined with their sense of personal self and their self-concept and self-worth versus just treating it like a business and somewhere where they make money and sometimes express themselves. The people who are at that higher emotional end of the spectrum are the most likely to quit their business within 12 months of working with me or talking to me. Talk to me in the DMs, and then 12 months later I look and they're no longer doing it, or they've completely done something else and they're starting again from scratch, even though they're still completely burnt out and they have no strategy or support behind them. So if you're like, I do sense in myself that I drop the ball quite a bit. I do question my niche all the time. I do tend to niche hop. It's probably this overthinking, over emotional, over conceptualizing part of you that needs to be looked at. I'm not going to go into the next point too much, but I am going to touch on it because I actually care about you and I actually want you to know this because this is important. Those highly emotive clients are the most likely to suffer from very poor mental health. Very poor. Extreme depressive episodes, psychosis, things like that. I'm not a mental health expert and I'm not talking about from working with them. I'm saying they've actually come to me and they've told me this. They've reported this later on. I've actually had a psychotic episode. I've actually had a mental breakdown. I've actually gone into a lot of depression. So this isn't me saying, I think this is a lot, like over 50 people have reported this to me, and my little autistic brain makes the connection. Oh, she was very emotional with her business and now this has happened. There's a correlation there. So if you tend towards poor mental health, or even if you have a history of it in your family and you're running your business like this is a problem. Like, this is a red flag. And again, I'm not a psychologist. This isn't a therapy podcast, but that is something that I would be talking to a professional about. So, what can we do about this? And the first thing, and obviously only if you feel well enough, is to get radically honest with these cycles of self-sabotage that you have. And when I say cycles of self-sabotage, that probably sounds really conceptual. What I mean is actually looking at those patterns in yourself and literally asking yourself, how many times has overthinking helped me? What result have I got from staying in the concept stage? What is the end outcome from constantly running on epiphanies rather than just committing to something? What do I have to show for making my business intertwined with my self-concept? And literally getting radically honest about it. And I can hand on heart say that if you do get radically honest, that's not going to look good. That's not going to be painting a pretty picture. Maybe sometimes, but as a majority, it's only doing damage. It's not supporting you. And I also do want to say that myself, I think, and the kind of women that I work with, we're smart. We're self-aware. We take the time to understand ourselves. We want to evolve. We want to self-actualize, whether that's the language that you use or not. We have big visions and big futures and bigger pictures from what's going on right now. And that is probably why a lot of you are a bit more cerebral. You're a bit more in your head rather than in action, in taking aligned action. That's a beautiful thing, but we just want to kind of harness the helpful parts of that rather than getting stuck in the limitations. We've all seen coaches pushing hustle. You might have even got caught up in the hype and tried it only to end up feeling more confused and burnt out than you already were. Imagine no longer feeling scattered, confused, stressed, but moving into a state of being supported, clear, and confident in your business today and where it's going in the future. That is why I created an intentional container to finally get out of the overcommit, overwhelm cycle and into a way of doing business that aligns with your energy. The 6-month sustainable success system for energy aware women business owners is a one-to-one program specifically made for women business owners who lean towards creativity, lean towards caring more about their physical well-being and using their energy in the most intentional way possible. I will coach you through each month of that 6-month program, and you'll have monthly business strategy masterclasses to get everything you need so that your business ends up running at a high professional level, which will help you create systems for sales and community growth. It's half a year of one-to-one support with someone who has done it and has been exactly where you are now. You deserve this level of support. It's time to step up without buying into the hustle. There's only 4 spaces available in this program and they're filling up fast. It won't run again until September. When you look at this picture that you've drawn of what actually does happen, what is my outcome of approaching my business like this? I don't want you to think, oh, I'm so shit, I never follow through. That's not the point of this episode. The point is for you to see that this behavior is not fair to you. It's not fair to your future. It's disrespectful to your vision. And it's damaging your physical, mental, and financial well-being. We don't want that for you. We want a much more spacious, expansive, supported, nourished, aligned, held, authentic way of being in the world. The things, the wisdom and the gifts, experience and knowledge that you have that you are blocking from being shared with the world with your overthinking, it's so sad. It's so, so, so sad that you're doing that. Whether it's helping people or just injecting more beauty into the world. Maybe you're a therapist and you can solve people's trauma, or maybe you make pretty candles. All of these things are just as valid as each other. And you being stuck in overthinking that is stopping that from being experienced is really, really, really sad. And I don't want this for you. Also, I know I've said it before, but I do have some stats around that the longer people spend conceptualizing or ideating or working out little parts of their business, the harder they find taking action is. And I've also had over 25 people in the last 2 months send me a DM or a message on WhatsApp saying, and not like you're right, as in, oh my God, I'm so smart. No, you said that taking action would help my mental blocks fall away, and it has. I've had people even use the term taking action was therapeutic. Therapeutic. But if you're staying in your head and concepts and reworking everything and second guessing everything and having epiphanies that demolish all of the work that you've done so that you have to restart, you're uprooting all the time, you're never going to access that therapeutic level of action taking. There's cinnamon snoring in the background. I hope you find that cute. So there's a little bit of self-awareness that needs to be developed around this for you to see it for what it is, for you to see it clearly. And maybe for some of you, you need to see it clearly before you can actually get help. But for a lot of you, actually working with a coach and having someone external to your business look at it on the inside and say, hey, babe, this isn't good for you. It's actually the medicine that you need. If You want to get off this merry-go-round, which is exactly what it is. It's a fucking nightmare merry-go-round. It's like a horror movie merry-go-round. I made the 6-month sustainable success business specifically with you in mind, specifically for the overthinkers, the low energy. And if you don't know, overthinking does cause physical fatigue. The science behind that too. For the people who are struggling to make big strides on their own, but know deep within them that the juice that they have inside them is like very, very, very worthwhile and highly transformative, even if it's a pretty candle. I fucking love pretty candles. I spent so much money on them. I made this for you. I made it with you in mind. I can hold that space. I've done it hundreds of times. And I know the things that you need to hear in order to step forward. And I have had a lot of people report to me that it's firm but fair, that it's direct and honest, but medicinal and needed. If that's you, let's step off the merry-go-round. Let's step into a much more clear, directed, simple, even lighter way of doing business. If you can't tell, getting to share this time with you is something that I find truly sacred. I know that you're busy, but if you've taken anything away from our time spent together today, could you extend the love and share this episode with a friend, your community, or on your socials? Tag me so that I can see it and I can share it too. Or when you have a spare moment, leave the podcast for review. These things cost you nothing and will mean so much to me. Let's get this resource into the hands of more women visionaries and help us collectively move towards our most aligned way of being and doing business together.